My beloved child, stop here for a moment. Do not move past this voice too quickly, because this exact second was not accidental. It was not random that your eyes arrived here now. Before your hand touched the screen, before your thoughts decided to continue, before this moment entered your day, I had already marked it in heaven. I arranged this meeting long before you knew you would need these words. I saw the hour. I saw the weight on your heart. I saw the quiet question hidden behind your smile, and I chose this precise moment because there is something I must place into your spirit now. Many things have crossed your path before. Many voices have spoken around you. But this moment carries something different. I did not allow you to reach this word by chance. I called you into it because your soul has reached an appointed place where you are finally ready to hear what was waiting above you all along. So, remain here carefully. Heaven has already leaned close to you in this instant. And what is being released now belongs to a time that was written before today ever began. There is a letter before you, but not one written by human hands, not one formed by ordinary thought, and not one released before its time. I wrote this in silence, while you were still walking through days that felt unanswered. I sealed it while you were still trying to understand why certain doors remained closed, why certain prayers seemed suspended, why certain nights felt heavier than words could explain. I kept it hidden because your earlier season could not yet hold what these words carry. Some truths cannot arrive before the soul is prepared to receive them. Some answers must wait until the heart has passed through certain fires without breaking. That is why this remained closed until now. It was not forgotten. It was protected. It was preserved above you until your spirit reached the exact hour I chose for opening it. And now that hour has arrived. Not tomorrow, not later, but now, because something inside you has reached the place where this seal can finally be broken. Many may hear sounds. Many may pass near words. Many may continue without understanding. But listen carefully. This exact word is not resting on every heart the same way it rests on yours now. This message carries your hidden nights inside it. It carries questions you never fully spoke aloud. It carries tears that were seen even when no one around you understood why you became quiet. Others may hear language, but you are hearing recognition. Others may hear sentences, but you are hearing something that was formed with your own journey in mind. Before anyone noticed your silent battles, I had already written your name into what I am saying today. That is why there is a strange pull in your spirit now, why something inside you feels both still and shaken at once. Because your heart recognizes when heaven speaks personally. You were chosen first for what is inside this moment. Do not rush away too early, my child, because if you leave too quickly, you may miss the exact sentence that heaven delayed for this hour alone. There is one part of what I am releasing now that your heart has waited longer for than you realize. One line that carries more than comfort, more than emotion, more than reassurance. It carries explanation. It carries the missing piece you have searched for while pretending you no longer searched. The enemy often tries to move hearts away just before truth reaches its deepest point. So, remain steady now. Let nothing inside you turn away too early. What is still unopened carries weight your spirit must receive before this moment closes. Inside this sealed letter, there is something you did not expect me to say now. You thought perhaps I would only speak about patience again, or endurance again, or waiting again. But hidden inside this word is something different, something that will surprise you because you believed heaven was still silent in one area where I have already begun moving. What I placed inside this letter is not only comfort for where you have been. It is revelation about what has already begun to shift where you cannot yet see clearly. I am not beginning with warning today. I am not first placing correction before you. I am opening with a surprise because before instruction comes recognition. Before warning comes tenderness. Before correction comes proof that I have been near you even in silence. Silence was never absence. Silence was authorship. What I hold in this moment is an answer, a reversal, and a hidden explanation joined together. There are things you called delay that were not delay. There are things you called silence that were not silence. There are things you called closed that were only being guarded until the proper hour. What seemed still was not empty. What seemed paused was not abandoned. I was arranging deeper movements while you judged only what your eyes could measure. I wrote this with your tears in mind. Every line was shaped while remembering nights you thought passed unnoticed. I saw when your face remained calm, but your chest carried heaviness no one around you could read. I saw the moment you stopped explaining your pain because words no longer felt useful. Those moments were not lost. They entered heaven long before today, and they became part of why this letter exists now. You are not reading something distant. You are standing inside something that already knew your sorrow before you arrived. Heaven kept this close because previous seasons were not ready. If this had opened too early, you would have heard it through old fear. If this had arrived sooner, you would have interpreted it through fresh pain rather than deeper understanding. Earlier seasons still carried voices around you that could have distorted what I meant to place in you now. Earlier days still required silence because roots were forming where you could not yet see them. But now something within you has changed. Your spirit has crossed into a different place, and that is why this seal breaks today. My beloved child, now listen carefully, because what I am about to explain will answer a question your heart has carried through many quiet nights. There were moments when you wondered why I seemed silent while you were waiting with expectation. Hours when you looked upward with hope and inwardly asked why the answer did not come. You saw days pass, then weeks, then seasons. And in those long stretches of waiting, you sometimes mistook my silence for distance. You wondered whether heaven had paused over your life, whether your prayers had entered a place where no movement followed. But I tell you now with tenderness and truth, my silence was never absence. My silence was part of the writing. What felt quiet to you was not emptiness above you. It was sealing. It was guarding. It was preserving something too precious to be opened before its appointed hour. I sealed this word because your heart was still healing. You were speaking brave words outwardly, but inwardly there were places still carrying wounds that had not yet learned how to receive new truth without fear. I saw the hidden bruises left by disappointment, the silent ache created by expectations that collapsed in front of you. Even when you smiled, even when you told yourself you were moving forward, I saw how fragile certain places remained beneath the surface. If I had opened this word too early, you would have heard it through pain rather than through peace. Wounded thoughts would have distorted what heaven intended to give you as strength. So I kept it sealed, not because I wished to delay kindness, but because I refused to unfinished pain touch what required healed ground. You thought at times that because I was not answering in visible ways, I had stepped back from what concerned you. But I had not moved away. I was nearer than you understood. While you counted silence as distance, I was working in hidden rooms your eyes could not enter, watching every tear that came without witness. Every night you became tired of pretending strength. I was allowing healing to happen where words could not reach. Some wounds cannot be spoken away. Certain parts of your soul needed quiet because only quiet could soften what pain had hardened. There are blessings that cannot be released early, my child. Not every gift remains whole when placed into unprepared hands. You often measured readiness by desire, but I measure readiness by depth. A blessing released before its time can become a burden, not because the blessing is wrong, but because the surrounding strength has not yet formed. What you call delay was often protection. I also sealed this because not everyone around you could carry what I wrote. There were voices near you in earlier seasons that would have touched this word carelessly. If this had been opened while certain influences still stood too close to your heart, they would have added doubt where heaven intended confidence. Some things I write for you cannot survive every atmosphere. Sacred things must sometimes remain hidden until surrounding noise loses its power. You wondered why certain people drifted, why some connections changed. Part of that was preparation. Previous seasons required silence because you were still passing through hidden preparation you did not recognize while living inside it. You looked at those days and saw only ordinary struggle, unanswered prayer. But I saw a foundation being laid beneath what you could not yet identify. There were inner shifts taking place each time you chose not to give up when nothing visible changed. There were unseen roots forming each time you remained standing after another private disappointment. Preparation often feels unremarkable while it is happening, yet later you discover it was the very ground that allowed new things to remain stable. In quiet seasons, hidden fears rise, hidden questions surface, hidden attachments become visible. You needed to see what still troubled your trust. You needed to discover where your peace still depended too heavily on visible proof. I allowed those discoveries not to shame you, but to free you, because once hidden things become visible, healing can touch them. There were nights when you believed heaven had forgotten the exact prayer you whispered repeatedly, but I never forget what reaches me through sincerity. I remembered every sentence, every unfinished prayer, every tired whisper that ended before you found strength to continue. Yet remembering does not always mean immediate release. Sometimes I hold an answer in my hand while watching whether your spirit can survive one more season of becoming deeper. What I withheld visibly, I was strengthening inwardly. What I delayed outwardly, I was maturing inwardly. That is why you survived seasons you thought would break you. Dear family, I want to share something important with you all. Recently, our channel has been demonetized by YouTube, which means we no longer receive any earnings from our videos. Each video takes a lot of time, effort, editing, and resources to create, but we still want to continue spreading these powerful and uplifting messages to you. We truly wish to keep this channel alive and continue our mission, but doing this without any support is becoming very difficult. If our content has ever helped you, inspired you, or supported you in any way, we humbly request your support through Buy Me a Coffee. Even a small contribution helps us continue this journey. The support link is available in the comment section and the description. Thank you for your love, support, and prayers. God bless you. You were being shaped while you believed you were only enduring. And now, this opening means something important. The season has already begun to change. Something has shifted, not merely around you, but within you. The version of you that stands here now is not the same one who first asked the earlier questions. You carry quieter strength now. You notice differently. You endure differently. This opening is not the start of movement. It is proof that movement has already begun. Not every silence remains forever. Some silences end when healing reaches enough depth. Some end when surrounding noise loses influence. Some end when the soul has learned how to hear without panic. This is why today feels different in ways you cannot fully explain. So when you remember the silence behind you, do not call it abandonment again. Call it what it truly was. Holy preservation, hidden mercy, careful timing shaped by love, stronger than impatience. I did not remain quiet because I lacked words. I remained quiet because timing was part of the message itself. If this truth about my silence has brought something into your spirit today, write simply in the comments below. Tell me what these words have touched in you. Let it be your declaration before heaven that you have heard, and you are ready to receive what has been kept for this hour. My beloved child, now I speak to the place inside you that few people have ever truly reached. The place you protect so carefully that even when others stand near you, they often do not realize how much weight you are carrying beneath your quiet words. There are tears you allowed no one to witness, tears that came only when the room became silent, when the door closed, when the day ended and there was no longer strength left to explain yourself to anyone. I saw every one of those tears. I saw the way you tried to stop them before they fell, the way you looked upward without language because even prayer felt tired. You thought sometimes that because no one asked the right question, perhaps no one would ever understand how deep certain wounds truly went. But I understood before the first tear even formed. I knew which disappointment returned when you became quiet, which face entered your mind, which words from the past still carried weight even after you pretended they no longer mattered. Not one tear fell without being recognized by me. I know how often you became exhausted in silence. There were days when your body continued moving, your voice continued answering, your responsibilities continued demanding attention. Yet inwardly, you were already tired long before the day began. You carried exhaustion that sleep alone could not remove, because what tired you most was not work, but inner weight. The constant effort of holding yourself together while thoughts moved heavily beneath the surface. Some mornings you rose, not because strength had returned, but because life required you to keep moving even while your soul remained weary. Others saw you functioning, so they assumed you were fine. But I saw how often you reached moments where even small things felt difficult, because your spirit had been stretched too long without rest that truly touched the heart. You learned how to speak in steady tones even when your thoughts were unsettled, because somewhere along the way you believed that breaking outwardly might burden others or invite misunderstanding. So you became skilled at appearing composed while carrying storms inside. People praised your strength without knowing how much of it came from necessity rather than ease. They admired how well you handle things, not realizing how many nights that same strength collapsed the moment you were alone. And I saw it, every single night. There were nights when you looked back over conversations, decisions, losses, trying to understand where things changed and why certain pains still held power. You whispered questions into darkness that no one else heard, not because you doubted my hearing, but because your heart no longer knew what else to do with its own heaviness. Some nights you did not even have full prayers, only tired breathing, unfinished thoughts, and tears that replaced words entirely. Yet even those nights were heard. Even silence that trembled was understood before heaven. There were betrayals in your life that others never fully understood, because what hurt you most was not always the event itself, but what broke inside you afterward. Betrayal makes the heart ask why trust became unsafe, where trust once felt natural. It makes memory return unexpectedly, because the wound was not only about loss. Some who stood near you never understood why you became quieter after certain moments, why caution entered places where openness once existed. But I understood, because I saw exactly where trust fractured and exactly how deeply that fracture touched your spirit. You smiled while inwardly collapsing more times than anyone knew. You became skilled at placing light over pain, because explaining pain repeatedly became exhausting. Sometimes appearing steady felt easier than risking being misunderstood again, but smiling did not hide your condition from me. I knew when your smile was kindness, and I knew when your smile was survival. There were days when you wished someone would simply notice without requiring explanation. You longed at times for one person to understand that the words, "I am okay," often meant, I not have strength to explain." Yet when that recognition did not come, you learned to carry more inwardly. This created a loneliness deeper than physical isolation, because being surrounded and still unseen wounds quietly. But hear me now. Even when human understanding remained shallow, my attention never weakened. I saw the private moments when memories returned without invitation. You questioned yourself at times, wondering why certain things still affected you after you thought you had already moved forward. But healing is not always straight and simple. Certain wounds reopen not because healing failed, but because deeper layers are still being touched. I never condemned you in those moments. I remained near. I know how often you doubted your own worth after repeated disappointments, wondering why effort did not always produce security, wondering why giving sincerely sometimes returned pain instead of peace. Still, you continued. Still, you kept showing up. Still, you kept speaking gently when bitterness would have been easier. I also saw how often you carried other people's comfort while neglecting your own wounds. You listened while hurting. You remained available while privately depleted. And this is why I speak so directly now. Because this message knows you, not from distance, but from every hidden place where you believed, perhaps no one fully understood. I know the exact nights you nearly gave up explaining. I know the exact mornings you rose despite inward heaviness. I know the exact smile that covered inward collapse. Nothing in your hidden pain has ever been vague before me. Even now, some part of you still wonders whether full healing is truly possible. But what became familiar is not meant to remain forever. I did not bring you through silence merely to leave you defined by hidden exhaustion. I did not preserve you through unanswered nights so that inward collapse would remain your permanent language. The reason I name these things now is because what is named before my presence is no longer hidden in darkness. What I bring into light, I also begin to soften. So, when your heart says quietly, "This message knows me," understand why. Because I have never spoken to you as a distant observer. I speak as the one who remained present in every hidden tear, every silent exhaustion, every smile covering collapse, every night when questions were louder than sleep. Nothing about your pain has ever been unknown above you. If something in these words has found the exact place inside you that rarely receives recognition, leave a word in the comments below. Even just your name, even one sentence, because what you declare openly before others becomes a seed planted in ground that heaven is already preparing. This work of words continues because of those who choose to stand beside it. If what pours through this channel has poured into your spirit today, consider supporting it through the link in the description below. Every offering made in faithfulness becomes part of what allows these words to continue reaching hearts that are waiting in silence, just as you once were. My beloved child, now remain very still inside your heart, because what I am about to place before you is the part of this letter that heaven guarded most carefully. You expected, perhaps, that when the seal opened, I would only speak about comfort, about patience, about endurance again. But hidden inside this letter is something you did not fully expect. The surprise I have prepared for you is not merely a blessing waiting somewhere far ahead. It is not simply a promise placed at a distance. It is something that has already begun to move while you were still asking whether anything had changed at all. What surprises you now is not only what I intend to do, but the truth that movement has already started in places your eyes have not yet learned how to see. Think of a seed buried beneath winter ground. From above, the earth looks untouched, silent. But beneath the surface, life has already begun pressing upward. The roots are reaching before the shoot ever appears. That is the picture of where you stand now. What you see above ground has not yet changed, but beneath the silence, something has already begun. A shift has taken place where your eyes cannot yet confirm it. And this is why your spirit has felt unusual moments lately that you could not fully explain. Moments when peace touched you unexpectedly. Moments when something inside you sensed that waiting no longer felt exactly the same as it once did. Those moments were not imagination. They were the first traces of what has already begun shifting. Not every answer announces itself loudly when it begins. Some answers begin quietly, like a lock loosening before the door fully opens, like dawn arriving before light reaches every corner, like the tide turning beneath the surface of water that still appears calm. What you called delayed has not remained untouched. A delayed thing has begun opening, but because its first movements are hidden, your thoughts have not yet trusted what your spirit quietly sensed. You asked me in earlier nights whether anything had changed at all, and I heard that question clearly. I did not answer then because part of the surprise required waiting until the movement had advanced far enough that your heart could now receive this word without fear. The surprise hidden in this letter is this: something you believed was still completely blocked has already started to shift under my hand. Not fully revealed yet, not fully visible yet, but no longer standing untouched. There are answers that remain invisible while their foundations are already moving. There are doors that begin opening inwardly before their hinges are heard outwardly. That is why I tell you now, do not trust only what appears still before you. Stillness outside does not always mean stillness above you. There has been invisible approval released from heaven concerning something you have carried heavily in prayer. What was once held under waiting has recently passed through a place of unseen approval. It does not mean full arrival has completed, but it means resistance is no longer standing exactly where it stood before. Something once suspended has entered a new phase under my authority. You may ask why I did not tell you sooner. Because if I had spoken before the hidden shift began, your mind would have struggled against visible contradiction. You would have searched too quickly for immediate proof, and when visible evidence delayed, anxiety would have returned stronger. But now I speak because unseen movement has already begun enough that this word can rest in you without harming what is forming. Heaven releases knowledge when the soul can hold it with steadiness. There is a reason recent days have felt different even when outward life looked familiar. Certain burdens have not pressed your spirit with the exact same weight. Certain fears that once rose quickly have met quieter resistance inside you. Those moments were not random. They were traces of what had already begun shifting where you cannot yet fully look. When heaven begins moving unseen, the heart often senses it before circumstances declare it openly. The thing you thought remained entirely held back is no longer standing under the exact same resistance. Some of what delayed it belonged to timing. Some belonged to preparation. Some belonged to hidden alignment beyond your sight. But now, hidden alignment has entered motion. The unfinished thing is not unmoving. I do not reveal the full outcome yet, because suspense is also part of wisdom. I want trust deeper than excitement. I want you to learn how to rest while knowing movement has begun without demanding immediate explanation for every hidden piece. The surprise is not meant to make you restless. It is meant to strengthen your expectation without stealing your calm. What I am building in you now requires a different kind of faith. Not the faith that demands proof before it believes, but the faith that believes before proof arrives, because it has already learned the sound of my voice and trusts that what I begin, I complete. This is the faith that survives the in-between season, the season after the promise, but before the fulfillment. The season that tests whether what entered your heart has roots deep enough to hold when the wind continues. And you are in that season now, not at the beginning of it, closer to the other side of it. What remains is appointed. And appointed things end exactly when I say they end, not one moment sooner, and not one moment too late. So, hold steady, my child, not because your surroundings have yet confirmed it, but because I have spoken it. Not because every question has been answered, but because the one who holds every answer has already begun to move on your behalf. The waiting that remains is not empty ground, it is prepared ground. You will not always know which day brings the visible confirmation, but you will recognize it when it comes, because your spirit is already being prepared to receive without surprise, while heaven is already preparing to release. Rest now. Not in resignation, but in the kind of rest that comes from knowing. Knowing that you have been seen. Knowing that you have been heard. Knowing that the movement above you has already begun. Knowing that silence was authorship, not absence. You are not too late. You have not been forgotten. You have not been passed over. You have not reached this moment by accident. You were guided here because there was something written for you that could not be given to another. Receive it now without fear, without rushing. Receive it as what it truly is. A word from the one who has never once stopped watching over you. Not in silence, not in distance, not in the long seasons between prayers and answers, not even in the moments when you doubted whether your voice still reached me. It always reached me, and I have always been here. If these words have remained with you from the beginning of this letter to here, then something inside you already knows that what was spoken today was not spoken for all. It was spoken for you. Write it in the comments. Whatever word is sitting in your heart right now, whatever this letter has touched, whatever you have been waiting to say to heaven out loud, let this space become the place where you say it. If this channel has been a place where your silent nights have been given language, remain close. Press the button that keeps this voice near to you, because there are more words written above you that have not yet been spoken. Stay so that when they open, you are here to receive them. And if the words poured into your heart today have carried something into you that ordinary moments do not carry, consider standing beside this work through the link in the description below. Every cup of coffee offered becomes part of what allows these words to continue finding hearts that are waiting in their heaviest hour, needing to hear that they were not forgotten. What you give today becomes part of what reaches someone tomorrow. My beloved child, go now with steadiness, not with all your questions answered, but with something more lasting than answers, with the knowledge that you were found today, that your hidden weight was named, that your silent nights were seen, that what I start in you, I carry to completion. Go knowing that the voice that called you here will call you back again when the next word is ready to be opened. Because this was not the end of what I have to say to you. It was only the beginning. Dear family, I want to share something important with you all. Recently, our channel has been demonetized by YouTube, which means we no longer receive any earnings from our videos. Each video takes a lot of time, effort, editing, and resources to create, but we still want to continue spreading these powerful and uplifting messages to you. We truly wish to keep this channel alive and continue our mission, but doing this without any support is becoming very difficult. If our content has ever helped you, inspired you, or supported you in any way, we humbly request your support through Buy Me a Coffee. Even a small contribution helps us continue this journey. The support link is available in the comment section and the description. Thank you for your love, support, and prayers. God bless you.